Welcome, YouTubers, Facebook members, and Rumble members. This is News with a View, found at youtube.com at JOHNFATKAT, John Fat Cat, cat with a K. We are doing a live show today also. Part of this whole Saturday, October 18th. Nice day here in South Carolina. And today's topic will be just of things going on in the news. And commentary by myself, which I always love doing. No set agenda on what we're discussing here, but it will start with the Democrats' failure to recognize the mistakes they made in 2024 that was their downfall in November of 2024. And they just fail to own it. They fail to recognize it. They fail to react to it, or, as I said, to even address it. They called all the Republicans, ignorant. Ignorant. We're all stupid. And guys, you're not going to convert Republicans over to your side doing that. You're just going to dig their heels in deeper. And that's what's been going on. Your policies that you're addressing, again, you swore up and down you weren't spending money or taxpayers' monies on illegal health care and housing and lawyers' costs and everything else. And there was a lie. That was a lie. The government, federal and state, has been just throwing billions at illegals, trying to get them onto the voting records, try to get them to the voting booth. That's all it is. They realized they lost the black vote, so they knew that, started seeing that years and years ago, and just opened up our borders and said, come on in and we'll take care of you. Look who's taking care of you, And anyone says that was not the case and understands and sees what was going on in the news back in Bush's and then Obama's and Biden's administration is a freaking liar. Bush was accused of putting kids in, cages and stuff, and that was all Obama stuff, and that was a whole bunch of rhetoric from the left, Remember, again, Bush was Hitler. Remember that? Oh, and all of a sudden then he morphed into Donald Trump. The American voters reacted to that hatred and said, you can have your differences, your political differences, but you took it to a new height. And your lies and your fake agendas with fake solutions. There's no border problem. Yeah, no, for you there was no border problem. For everyone else living near the borders or in states that, were with the influx of these people were coming into, yeah, that was a problem. And you just said, no, it's fake. It's Donald Trump lying to you. From every angle, the Democratic regime lied, and they got called out, and they got caught big time. Trump suing ABC, Trump suing CBS, Trump's, suing CNN. These were all huge, huge wins, and then showing that, what was being done when they're saying, no, 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 don't pay attention to the man behind the curtains. And people started paying attention and then realizing that everything the Democrats were telling them. And it just wasn't Republicans who said and knew, 4 years ago that they were going to vote for Donald Trump. And you had your core people that said that. I'm going to vote for Trump. He's going to run again. And the lies of the left trying to convict Trump of anything. The Georgia one was the most blatant one. Where, he said, hey, I want you to find. Finding is not creating. And they went after Trump with that and, arrested people and tried to just suck Trump down into the mud. And Trump fought back. And where he couldn't fight back, he had to go to trial. And he lost the trial, and it was a really, if you look at it, was an extremely biased case to begin with. The Attorney General, Letitia James of New York, said when she was running, I'm running to get Trump. I will find a reason to get Trump. And that's what she ran on. And Trump was railroaded. And now he is seeking, you can call it revenge. I call it retribution. Because they had everything fake trying to convict Donald Trump. And guess what Donald Trump has? Donald Trump has their own documentations to prove they were doing things that were technically illegal. The only case so far that I said, and I said this in another podcast, where I felt that the government could go after Schiff for, saying he was using that at his house that he bought, as a full-time residency. My feeling is if he wasn't renting that house out, he was a senator who spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. instead of spending it in a hotel. He bought a house. And on that house, he said, "This is, I'm going to be the occupant, owner occupied." He wasn't lying. He wasn't renting it out that I know of. So in that sense, I think the government would have a hard time, proving that he did this with the intent of trying to get a better rate. I said back when this all happened, And then finally looking at the documentation and seeing what was there, as a ex financial executive in a lending institution, besides my career at CBS Television, I looked and I said, no, I could see where in his mind and in the mind of the bank, that was going to be his primary occupancy. I think that's a case that, after they spoke with him and they I don't think they indicted him. And again, we've learned from, Trump, you can indict anyone. Whether or not the case will hold water and whether or not, if there's any facts that I'm not aware of. And there could be facts that I'm not aware of, in the sense that, was he renting the house out? And again, my feeling is if the bank didn't have a problem writing the loan, as it was written, they looked at and his explanations and stuff, have a good day. Have a good day. I don't think Schiff was a credit risk. I don't think he was going to move away or rent it out in a manner that would damage the property or, not keep the property up. So I kind of had my doubts on that. I didn't think the government should have pushed so hard with it. They could have brought it out and questioned him and go, we're satisfied with the answer that he gave us. Now, Letitia James is an outright freaking liar, allegedly, where they have in the past highlighted where she has outright lied. In one application, years and years ago, she said her father was her husband to obtain favorable terms. And then her house in Virginia that she bought as an investment and said that was going to be her primary residency to get a lower rate on the mortgage and also a lower rate on her homeowner's policy. So she outright lied. And that, is it a mortal sin that she did? No. She was doing what everyone else would try to do, is save money. I could get what she did. I understand. You tell me, you could pay $90 or you could pay $110. But what should I put you down for? Well, it's going to be $90. So I don't have a problem with her logic. I have a problem with her ethics. My ethics, I'm not affecting anyone. Her ethics, you are the highest law official in the state of New York, you better have pretty good ethics. And for her to do what she did, I'd question her ethics. I'd question to the point that maybe she shouldn't be Attorney General. Maybe she needs to resign. Had no problems doing that to Governor Cuomo when he was accused of brushing up against a female or maybe worse, and he resigned under pressure. So Letitia James gets up there and screams, I'm gonna fight this. We're in this together. No, New York State isn't in with you. No one's in with you. That's your battle. Don't drag us into your unethical dilemma. And again, the Democrats don't learn from this. Democrats in Chicago, School Teachers Union, comes out in support of a cop killer. That she was a very important person, beloved, and should be recognized as a hero to the movement. A cop killer. And the ignorant mayor kind of backs that up. And you don't think that's going to be on every ad for a Republican to say, this is your Democrats. This is their beehive, hive mentality thinking. One does it, we all follow. And it's just not going to be there. It's New York. It's Pennsylvania. It's Ohio. It's Illinois. It's in California. The Democrats they will not recognize why they are losing their moderate base. They'll always have their crazy left. Just like the Republicans will always have their crazy, right. It's about equal in craziness. But the difference starts happening when you start having 3 and 4% of your voters, and that's all it takes. When things are 50 one way, you don't need many percentage points to end up winning. And you have some states that are absolutely traditional blue, but they have been red before. And I predict that New York will have a Republican governor. I think that's going to happen. I do not think Schumer is going to run. But Schumer might just run with the idea, well, I'll lose to a Republican then. There's my payback to you, AOC. No, you never know. And, AOC is, saying quietly she's not running against Schumer, but we know if Schumer would say, I'm not going to run, she'd run right for that seat. And that would be fine. She could do that. She could even run against him, even if he goes, I am running, and she wants to run against him. Then it becomes a primary fight. And I would believe that Schumer would win that primary fight. He just has too many friends. AOC is coming from a district that is crime-ridden. The quality of life there is horrible. And they just don't recognize what's going on. The Democrats they do not perceive what they're seeing around them. They think everything's wonderful. Crime's not a problem. The debt of America, not a problem. The decay of our schools, not a problem. And this is where I said, this is where the Democrats fail to realize what's going on around them, with the exception of a few. Fetterman, John Fetterman, he's like, hey, what are you doing? Even AOC has questioned what the DNC was doing and how they were approaching things. But the political leadership of the Democrats is non-existent. And now you have a shutdown where there should never have been a the Democrats had signed on to the big beautiful bill, and now they killed the budget. They said, nope, nope, we want this, 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 and this. And that was expressly going against what the big beautiful bill wanted. So Trump is in no hurry to have this thing settled. The courts, there were people that went to the federal court and said Trump can't fire anyone during the shutdown. And the judge made a ruling. And that's going to go right to the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court has already given Donald Trump the freedom to fire people under the executive branch. And this judge said, no, no, the difference is we weren't in a shutdown then. There's nothing in the book that says, the exception to any of these rules are a shutdown or a government emergency or anything else. Nothing. Nothing. And what they're doing is just trying to stop the system from moving, because they don't like where it's moving to. But instead of coming up and working with the government, they fight the government. Who do you think is sponsoring No King's Day? Who do you think pays for all those buses and all those people, those paid protesters to show up? Who do you think pays for that? And voters know that. Even moderate Democrats are like objecting. We can't go this far with you. And yet they don't care. The Democrats don't care what the moderates think. And moderates might stay home during the election in 2026. I hope not. I hope not. I'm a believer you have a right to a vote. Exercise that right. You might hate both people that are running. Do you hate one less than the other? If that person that you wanted to vote for, or would have liked to vote for, is doing something so egregious to your beliefs in how this country should be, then you don't vote for him. You vote for the other guy. And if that other guy happens to be a Republican, you vote for him. And the same is true. Republican, if you feel that person is doing something so harmful to your idea of what the government should be and stuff, you vote for the guy that's saying, no, I'm against that. I will fight that. I will do that. And that's how a democracy, a republic. We are not a democracy. We are a republic that has democratic intentions. So we are not a democracy in the true word of a democracy. And the Democrats using that, Donald Trump's against democracy. Donald Trump is the cheerleader of our democracy. He takes it to the robes. They say one thing, I say another thing. This is how I see that I can do what I'm going to do under my executive privilege as president. What say you? And he's won about 90% of the argument. And I'm not saying I agree with everything that the president has gone and has done. There's certainly some things in there that I go, well, I know you could do it, but should you do it? So, but the Democratic lack of leadership and they're fighting over here, fighting over there, and and it's like the old saying, a house divided. The Democrats are a house divided, and they cannot stand. And the Republicans are just getting stronger and stronger. And what the Democrats are actually doing is they're emboldening the Republican Party. Whereas before, some people were afraid of being canceled and being, questioned, and you're a racist, Hitler, fascist. And now they're speaking up and they're going, no, this is wrong. Here's what they're doing, and this is why it's wrong. And they're not afraid to speak anymore. There's a time when people were canceled. They lost their jobs. They lost their positions. They lost their fortunes because, the fake protesters would show up at their businesses or in front of their houses, paid. Those weren't the American people. Those were paid people. And you had Soros just throwing money at these people in groups. And you say, well, Antifa is an idea, not a group. Go screw yourself. We know exactly what they are, and who's funding them, and the damages that you have caused. You can't hide that anymore. We're not allowing that. We're not allowing that. You want to see which way the wind is blowing? Look at what's going on in the news. Woke people being shown the door. CBS, NBC, all of them. ABC, CNN. The only ones that really haven't had that much play yet, because really no one ever watches, is MSNBC. And they will. They will. I'm not a fan of Fox or Newsmax or some of these other groups. I used to like watching CNN. I really did. I really did like watching CNN. Because they were the first 24-hour news, and they were on top of things, and they were just showing you what was going on. And then, of course, things change, and they became, politically aligned. And that happens. Look at Fox. That's why I said, I'm not locked in step with any group. I am a Republican, but I'm not locked in step. I'm willing to go, whoa, hey, no, that's a horrible idea. Or that's, you're going down that road. Let me tell you what's going to happen, or at least what I think is going to happen. And I have mentioned it, if you follow the program. I have 144 videos out here. Most of them are over an hour. I will go through a lot of them again to take out the highlights of things that I have said, so I can refer back to things I have spoken of. But I'm not locked in step. When Trump gave his speech on January 20th, and I said, oh, I got a problem with that, I got a problem with this, I got a problem with that. The other stuff I'm kind of okay with, but some of this other stuff that he wants to do, there's rules about doing that. And, and some of the stuff he got called out on, and you can't do it, and that's it. The Supreme Court said, no. And other things, the Supreme Court battered it back and forth and said, nah, yeah, you can do that. And a lot of people didn't understand what the shadow docket was at the Supreme Court, and who's in charge of, each little section of it. Of course, Judge Roberts is the ruler, but He's the main guy. But the Democrats have lost their path and have lost that path for a long, long time. And I think people are now saying, and November was a perfect example, proved my point. And, a debate, like I said, there are no winners in a debate. A debate will prove itself by being the people able to persuade enough people to their point of view. And you only know that after a debate, not during a debate. And the way you win is by persuading people. Taking a person that was maybe uncertain or even saying, no, and then, no, I don't agree with you, and then hearing the facts and hearing the other side and then hearing the facts again and going, you know what, I didn't take that into account. Yeah, I could see where this guy's coming from. All right. And the minute you get them to go, well, hold it, let me look at this again and stuff, you have persuaded someone. And, you have people, no, that's not what it says. This isn't what the word says in the Constitution. And, I understand that. But if you read the 20 paragraphs before that and the 20 paragraphs after that, you might get a better meaning of what they were actually saying. And then if you don't, you go look up the intent and who wrote what about what. Because believe me, a lot of the stuff that's being discussed today was discussed in 1868 and further down the road and before that. So it just doesn't mean the word. And President, and I've said this before, and it's repeating if you heard my podcasts before on these subjects, Bill Clinton was the best at conveying what does it mean. It means something at the kitchen table, but it might mean something totally different in the context of your constitutional rights, or in what a president is allowed to do, or what the Constitution says. So you got to be mindful of that. And this one book doesn't make a scholar out of anyone. All my books here, a lot of them are on the Constitution. A lot of them are on one particular amendment. And I still say the 14th Amendment, other than the First and Second Amendments, it probably is the most in play amendment. And, you could be emotionally attached to the words, but if you don't know what the meaning of that word is in that context, you're going to be upset. You are going to be upset. The Democrats failed to recognize that the American value system is changing. That we're not gonna, we were polite. That was our problem. We were polite. People, I think I should dress up as a girl and you should recognize me as a girl. And you look and you're like, whatever. I got grocery bills to pay, And then they wanted us to buy into their fantasy of being what they weren't. So I have to believe in leprechauns because that's what they want to believe? No. You're born a male. You're born a female. There's a 0.0001% of people that, have some cross circuit. And folks, if that's the case, you're not normal. You scream all you want about being normal, you're not normal. One of these things are not like the other, you know? And we recognize it doesn't devalue your life or anything, but you're not normal. And people running around going, I feel like a woman, so I am a woman. I feel like a man because I feel like a man. And even though I was born in this vessel, yeah, guess what? You can believe all you want. Click your heels together too. You might end up in Kansas. But I don't have to recognize that. I don't have to be part of your fantasy. I don't have to indulge your fantasy. And that's what's going on in America. And you go, oh, you're a homophobe, you're a transphobe. No. I just don't have to believe in it. And if I don't want to believe in it, why am I being punished? Or canceled? Where's my freedom of choice? Well, no one is saying, yeah, a boy going into a girl's room because you feel like a girl? My choice is not being overlooked. I don't want my children or my grandchildren, girls, have to worry about some guy in a bathroom because he's wearing a dress, he can go in there. No. Your beliefs, you keep them to yourself. In your house, you could do what you'd like to do as long as it's legal. But as an employer, I don't have to hire you. And that's why affirmative action was struck down. And that's why DEI was, and DEI wasn't even a law. It was protesters. We're going to protest in front of Nabisco. We're going to protest in front of Coca-Cola. We're going to protest, and we'll be on the news, and we'll be there. And hundreds of protesters showed up because they were paid. And I still say, those groups that get these people together to go to profession, they're lobbyists. And they should be recognized as lobbyists. Mostly if that money's coming from overseas or non-citizens giving them that money. Yeah, I want to see Soros, and it won't happen because Soros has so many deep roots that, Soros will die. His son might change, who knows. But Soros will eventually be gone. Papa Soros, who allegedly aligned himself with the Nazis. Back in the day, allegedly. Well, he was in Greece. And his hatred for America is well known. He hates America. And you have these people, no King's Day. 1776, we had no kings. Never had a king afterwards. But you know which president you can consider almost a king? It was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who served 4 terms. And after he died, and everyone got together and go, we don't want to do that again. Term limits on the president. Because that was as close as we got to a king. Since George Washington. who back then they wanted to make a king. And he goes, no, no, no king. No king. There was no term limits. There was nothing even in place. And when he said he was leaving, then, they started thinking elections and, figuring out how that was all going to work. So we have no kings here. We don't need a parade or rally for no kings, just like we don't need a rally for no leprechauns or no ghosts or no space aliens. And what the left has done is created a fake situation so they could have a fake solution to that. And guess what? We're on to you. No kings is not going to matter. Is not going to be anything because we don't have a king. And we'll never have a king. And you could cry and scream, look what Trump, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. Well, get enough people to vote for your people that will stop him. You lost the houses. I'm going to say your chances do not look good in 2026, fellas. And if you lose 2026 by what I feel you're going to lose by, your chances of being relevant again, I don't know if I take those odds. Even without redistricting, even without that, you guys were going to lose 2026 again, and it was going to be even steeper. The Democrat are trying to get John Fetterman out of office, thinking of every approach to get him out of his Senate seat. And he sees the writing on the wall. And the minute you guys get exposed in the public for having meetings to trying to get rid of him, he's going to change parties. And he's going to tell everyone all those little inner secrets. But see, he doesn't like playing that way. Fetterman is a square shooter. He's a fair person. I gave him a lot of grief, and I sent letters of apologies to him. And I'm not happy, because he's going against his party. No. I'm happy that he's using common sense to go against his party. Just following a doctrine is not a good idea. That seldom ever results in anything good. Just limiting yourself to one train of thought. I like Fetterman. There's some Democrats that I do like, and I think they absolutely served their constituents well. And there's others that are, they're in it to be in it. So I think that the Democrats as a whole are in trouble. Just like I thought the Republicans were in trouble when, Obama was coming up. And I said, hey, you have to look at, this guy Obama. He can get his point across in 2 sentences. And you had Bob Dole, and you had other people, and you had, people that weren't really, uh, well, Dole was a committed Republican. You had other ones that were not committed Republicans. You know, they were rhinos or whatever. Um, and we know who from Arizona we're talking about. And they just couldn't carry enough Republicans. You know, so uh, and that happens. That happens in parties that don't look around and seeing, you know, what the rest of us are seeing. And it's just not a, you know, this is not a new phenomena that the Democrats are facing. It's been done before by both parties. It's just that now you have a president that is not expanding the executive powers. The president has always had executive powers. What President Trump is doing is defining those powers when he goes and does something. And people are going, no, you can't do it. And the courts are saying, no, he can do that. But they've also told him when he couldn't do stuff. And that tells me the system is working. And you look it up and you go, yeah, he could do it. And like I said, could you? Should you? You know, Trump is a person that he's a counter hitter. He will fight for what he feels is right. And, you know, we might look at something and think, you know, common sense says, you know, you can't do this. And the Constitution goes, no, you can do that. So, you can have certain powers, but you shouldn't use them. They're only for extreme cases. And, but he can use them. He has the power to do it. He might have to prove his point, but he'll do it. He will do it, and he will win those points. And then that becomes a paper victory. And like I keep telling everyone, oh, look at the president, he's getting the Supreme Court behind him. I go, yeah, just remember, you're not going to have a Republican there forever. That's unrealistic. And I said, I'm a realist. You could have a Democrat that comes up with some great ideas and great solutions that go beyond the political spectrum other than him being a Democrat, where you can go, oh, you know, hey, that's a great idea. And he has a plan and it looks good, it sounds good. There's, you know, why not? Now, I'm not worried about Gavin Newsom. I'm not worried about Beto O'Rourke or whatever he's calling himself. I'm not worried about those people. I'm not worried about the fringes. You know, well, Stacey Abrams will run. I'm not worried about that stuff. Those people are truly, in a sense, yesterday's news. They don't have the charisma of President Trump or the charisma of J.D. Vance. Trump's big thing is that he could quietly sit in a room, look around, and he gets the temperature of that room and the people that are in there. And then he'll say something. And it will be something where the people that are sitting there will take notice to and go, all right, This guy just made a point, and a good point. He is very good at figuring out people, looking at a situation, sizing it up. Anyone who thinks that Donald Trump is not a smart guy, Trump wants you to be on that other team. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? He wants you to be the dumbest person in the room. So, but be careful with that. Be careful with that. Trump is a smart guy. He's got good inner sense. Does he make mistakes? Of course he makes mistakes. Is he wrong every once in a while? Yeah, sure, he's wrong every once in a while. But for the most part, he has a good intuition, and he can get a good read on people. It's like playing poker. Someone has a tell, he'd spot that. I wouldn't want to play poker against Donald Trump. I mean, he knows how to read a room. And he didn't get to where he'd be. Oh, well, his father gave him $25 million. Well, he took that $25 million and it's in the billions, multiple billions. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't buy that, folks. Don't come at me with that. I will tear you to pieces. Because that's not logical thinking. Is it a true statement? Yes, his father gave him millions. Yep. Is that what made him a billionaire? Nope. Nope. His ability to say no and his ability to say yes at just the right times. That's what made him. Smart guy. Don't underestimate him. Not for a second. When he doesn't know, he'll find the answers. Now, do I say that he always listens to his experts? No. No, he doesn't. And gut feelings are good in businesses, but gut feelings in the political world? Not so sure. Because the allegiances in the political world are so stretched out. And like tentacles, they're out there. So, all right. So, Democrats are in trouble. They have been in trouble. They have not recognized their problems since November, taking a beating. And when they didn't lose by, did they win? No, then they lost. And they took a beating. So, that's going to change. No, it's not. Because you haven't changed your playbook. You haven't come around. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. Would the Democrats on November 6th go, the American people have spoken. The race is over. We have a winner. And we will work with the new administration. And, we wish the American people success. We want to be part of that success. And if they would have walked in as a group, Schumer, well, Pelosi, he just hated Pelosi, and Pelosi hated him. There was no love there. But Jeffries and others would come in and go to the president and go, we know what your plan is. You've told America what your plan is, and America has voted for that plan. We can help you achieve some of that, but not at the numbers you're talking about. We just can't do that as a political party. We just can't do that. But we also can't fight you tooth and nail, and then nothing gets done. And we end up looking like the bad guys. So, where you want us to take 40% of a bite over here, can we start with 10? And see how that works out? And promise, 3 months later we look again. And when you go, I want another 10, we go, let's try 5. And see how that works out. And in certain areas, they knew they were super heavy on and stuff, and not much they can do. All Biden's growth, look at the jobs, yeah, because he hired them all. He hired them all. Freaking Democrat under Biden was the worst. And I don't know if he was even under Biden. I thought Obama served the 3rd term. So that's just me. So, okay, with saying that, we're at 57 minutes here. I'm ready to call it quits for a Saturday. I very rarely do a Saturday show, but since I will be unavailable after Thursday the 23rd until November 2nd, hey, those are the dates that I think I will be able to do things. So, if I can do them sooner, you know me. Yeah, well, those of you that know me know how lazy I am. But I will. So, give to a charity. If you can give to a charity, that's fantastic. If you're uncomfortable with that or don't want to do that, give it to a food bank. My daughter's running a big food bank this week, and we got to stop over there and drop some stuff off. So this is a family, at least down here, that my family in New York, they're working. They're working. My daughter works here too, and they work very hard, and my children work hard. They and they're not children; they're adults. My youngest daughter was like, "Oh, wow, I turned 50," and I'm like, "What? Huh? Oh, if you're turning 50, that means I gotta be." No way, no way. My youngest is turning 45. Well, turn 45 today. I mean, it goes by quick. So, but give to a food bank. You think, oh, well, I only got 4 cans, or I got, what am I going to give? Well, when they have 2 for 1, take one of those ones, put it away, make sure the dates are good. You can't give expired food to a food bank. And you get 6 or 7 cans in a month, and you bring it over to the food bank, they'll be happy. Thank you. And you go, well, I don't know. I feel funny. 7 cans, 6 cans. But to the person they're helping who has no cans, and forget about the reason they find themselves in that situation. Just push that away. That doesn't matter. But a family that is hungry, that shouldn't have to go hungry. No fault of the children's. Children have nothing to do with it. You know, you know, that's where Bob in New York and I agree on things. That's where we can get across our political differences and look at things like that and go, yeah, that shouldn't be. The children shouldn't have to suffer. So give to a food bank. Now, say a prayer. Prayer works no matter what a Democrat tells you. Prayer works. And with that, have a good evening. Could be a chance, depending on what happens in the news today. There's some things going on that I'd like to report on, and that I'd have something for Sunday. But if not Monday, by 4 in the afternoon, I will definitely have something out the door. All right, with that, I'm going to say goodbye until the next time as I fade to black.